The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. And as you know, I'm CJ. Today, Chip is away on business for the retirement board. And I believe he may be back on Wednesday, but I'm not sure. So I have a guest host today, Nelson Vasquez.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Fall River. It's a true honor to be here on this broadcast. I get goosebumps sitting in here because I know who occupied this seat. And I hope that I do him proud. And I also want to say we lost some Marines over the past weekend in a helicopter crash. Five Marines. I want to thank them for their service and have them rest in peace. And it's just unfortunate that we lose service members in a situation that they don't see coming.
Right. It's always tough to lose men in the line of duty, whether it be men in the service, whether it be our police
Training.
officers, fire, EMS, any of those people.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're serving their country, their cities, their states, and they deserve, the greatest of all respect.
Absolutely.
They definitely do. And when one passes away or is killed or whatever the case may be, that respect must be extended.
Yes.
And, a lot of times we forget that. Mm-hmm. And, Chip and I talked about that over Memorial Day weekend, because people say Happy Memorial Day.
Yep.
Well, it's not Happy Memorial Day. It's a remembrance. Mm-hmm. But people have just gotten in the habit of saying that, so they keep forgetting that it's to remember the people who have passed.
Absolutely.
Veterans Day, Happy Veterans Day, because that's for the men who are here and who have served.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Well, let's get right on to business here.
Yes.
I don't know if you read my Weekend Flush this weekend?
Yes, I did. And I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Since when, in your memory, since when have we seen an administration bring numbers down to a council meeting, to a budget hearing, that are only used for discussion purposes? A tax that property owners are going to be paying very soon. Since when have you ever seen numbers be used for discussion purposes?
I've never, ever in my life seen for discussion purposes only. It's amazing, because we brought this up just before the show. Mm-hmm. And what really bothers me a lot is that when Paul, and I'm going to say Paul because he was the one presenting it, when Paul presented this to the public at the neighborhood meetings and the sessions on TV and whatnot, he said the debt exclusion rate is going to be somewhere between $95 and $115. We heard that over and over and over again. Then we heard between $100 and $135. I mean, it was always somewhere in that vicinity. Nowhere were we told that it was based upon property value.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, it's based on property value. I had to go do some research, and I spoke with some people in the know, and they said, oh, no, it's always been based on property value. That's what was presented to the city council initially for this debt exclusion. It wasn't presented to the people that way. It was presented to the city council. But even with that information being presented to the city council, they said $95 to $115. So how can you, I mean, number one, I think it's ridiculous to base it on property value, because if you base it on property value, that's going to give you a sliding scale of money coming in to pay the debt exclusion, which is a bond, which I believe is going to be a 30-year bond.
And bonds are paid with is a fixed payment.
That's right, because it has a fixed interest and a fixed payment.
You know, folks at home, think about that for a second. If you take out a car loan, is the financial lending institution going to give you a number for discussion when you see that contract with the interest rate? No. It's going to be what the number is, so that you know what you're paying for the term that you agree to. And the fact that we have an administration that puts forward numbers for discussion purposes for a tax that you're going to have to pay and the disclosure right at the bottom, you have to ask yourself, are these even the accurate numbers? And here's my answer. They're not. This is another attempt to not be real with the people. And to me, it's not even, given what we're going through in the country with inflation and everything else, this is not how you govern. You always have to be real with the people when you go into the council chamber and you discuss numbers. To me, it's just incomprehensible. And CJ, I want to bring some numbers up for you.
Sure.
Okay, as we know, the city of Fall River is literally at a crossroads right now. Okay, the median household income in Fall River right now is about $46,000. That is 2/3 the amount of Bristol County at $71,000, and that is half of the state, which is a little over $84,000. Per capita is $26,000, a little over that. Okay, the poverty rate, it's at a little over 18%, 18.3, below the poverty line. That is more than 1.5 times the rate in Bristol County, which is at 10.7%. And it's doubling the state average, which is at 9.9%. And it just came out now that due to inflation, it is going to hit the seniors twice, very soon. And if you don't mind, can I read this?
Go ahead.
So, and this is, so since 1984, Social Security recipients have become subject to tax on their benefits when they make more than $25,000 as individuals and $32,000 for couples. Now, government forecasters say surging inflation is pushing more people over those limits. It is a big reason why the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, sees the share of Social Security benefits subject to tax growing by 10% this year and another 10% next year. It predicts total income taxes paid on those checks will jump this year by 37%. So the fact that we have this record inflation going on, and the fact that you still bring down a budget that doesn't put a stop for a year on a moratorium that I proposed, the fact that you still consider to put down this budget that violates ordinances, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. The majority of our city just cannot bear this cost. They need a break. And the fact that you're still making those pay for this, given in the times that we are in right now, and we don't know when it's going to come down, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Well, when you look at things like the water bills, they're going up. I mean, the city council just approved the water rate and sewer rate increases. So again, we're going to see them. They say $10. I want to know if anyone out there has had their water bill increased by $10 and their sewer rate increased by $8, please let me know, because I would love to see that. Or even reverse it, 8 and 10. I would love to see somebody who's only had a bill increase of $10, because I've never seen it. Every time I get my bill, it's $100. It's always $100. I'm up to $500 now. I have a 3 tenement, which, by the way, because I have a 3 tenement, I pay more on the debt exclusion. So it makes it interesting. But one of the things I want to bring up is, did you see Paul's interview with Mark Dion?
I did.
Did you hear when he said, I've got this budget balanced?
Yeah.
And I did not use ARPA money?
Yeah.
Then he proceeded to say that the debt exclusion has been cut in half because of ARPA money.
and CJ, I wanted to ask you, I read the weekend flush. Is there a provision in there that allows this to happen?
No. The ARPA funds cannot be used for tax reduction or existing construction.
So, folks, there you have it. Using money illegally in this fashion. So, the whole thing we witnessed at the previous meeting, him showing those numbers, is false advertisement. and there's laws against false advertising. This is absurd.
One of the things that gets me about Paul is that he knows how to spin the tale. Mm-hmm. He's very good at spinning tales. He's definitely kissed the Blarney Stone. Mm-hmm. And what I'm thinking is a blatant outright usage of ARPA money to reduce the debt exclusion payments by the public would be very obvious to the Office of Inspector General, the Department of Treasury. Mm-hmm. It would be very, very obvious. So I'm wondering if he moved money around, which is quite possible. He moved money around, so he put it in A account and then moved the money out of A account that was in there over to B account, which is the debt exclusion account. So the money's in A account, which it's legal for, so he took money out, which he moved it, which tells me he just moved the money through account. It's money laundering. That's the way I would look at it. But I'm not the Inspector General. And remember, the feds are still looking at us.
Yes, yes. You know, so for me, this is what I say. The city council, you need to do your job. You need to vote down this budget and make this administration come down with the real numbers. Because if you take out this money, this was ARPA money, it will have more holes than Swiss cheese, because his budget does not have a leg to stand on without ARPA money.
Well, and as you heard earlier too, and as I've pointed out in previous shows, the budget that was presented to the city council and to the public, I have a copy of it, has pages where it says link error, link invalid. Well, how are you supposed to get the information from this link if it's invalid? You can check on page 53, people, of the budget. That's right there. I mean, that one pops off in my head. Our station manager mentioned the fact that one of our producers here turned around and found that it said on the budget, fiscal 21 budget. Hey, we're in 23. And this proves that this budget is cut and paste.
Now, I'm also going to read to you, because I got a response back from the city clerk's office, because at the recent joint meeting, the administration came down and said that they were going to provide the city council and the school committee an updated 5-year forecast. And, you know, Sean Condeem, you know, laid out all those numbers, those deficits.
Right.
I got a response back from the city clerk's office. Dear Mr. Vasquez, per your request for information below, please be advised that there are no records responsive to your request. And it says the usual, I trust that this response sufficiently satisfies and concludes your public records request. And it tells you, you know, redirect your questions to the supervisor of the public records. So now the city of Fall River, this administration, there's no request for the 5-year budget deficits for subsequent years that Mary Sahadi alluded to when she was here. There's no request. I mean, there's no records of it. Think about that.
No, I hear it all the time. I hear it constantly. And we see it constantly, because I ask for records a lot, and you know, I'm a little nicer than some people. I'm not as nice as others. So sometimes, you know, you catch more flies with honey. And like I called the assessor's office to get an explanation on how they are assessing the debt exclusion. And an assessor answered I was transferred to an assessor in the office who had no idea. He told me, I have no idea. I don't know. Wow. You'll have to speak to the chairman. He'll call you on Friday after 1 o'clock. I waited Friday for the phone call. Thankfully, I wasn't holding my breath. And again, no response. And I found that a little odd, because Mr. Gonzalez is usually pretty good on answering public questions, but maybe he didn't answer because he didn't have the answer to how this was done. I mean, he's just the assessor. I mean, if you remember correctly, we've been asking for the numbers for months on how much it was going to cost the individual taxpayer. And we went to the assessor, we went to the city council, we went to the city administrator, we went to corporate council. Everyone went everywhere, and nobody had the numbers. And then the mayor turned around and said, what? I have those numbers on my desk. You know what I would have said when he said that to me? Go get them.
That's what I would have did.
Go get him.
I would have immediately requested a 10-minute recess so you could go upstairs and get the numbers. But the fact that we just don't have no records of the actual updated numbers of the budget deficits that we're going to be confronting with, not only Durfee and now Diamond, all the water and sewer rates. The rents are going to be up well over $2,000 by the time the fiscal year 25 or 26. And I think the last big number on the 5th year is going to be about a little over $10 million for a budget deficit. Like what we're doing right now is unsustainable, Paul. It is unsustainable. And for you to still put forward this budget with this spending, you ought to think about your consciences, because to me, there's always a human component to every policy you put down when it comes to tax policy and spending. It all comes back to the taxpayer. And it's beyond me that you still want to make the most vulnerable, who make up the majority of our city, to still pay for this. I just hope that, when they get those bills in the mail, protest. Because this is literally going to put people out on the street.
Oh, yeah.
And South Coast Rail is coming. It's coming. It just seems that the city has lost its way from where we were when we weren't in this position. We remember the fire department, the condition they were in. The list goes on. This goes back 10 years. When you're given this opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity with this type of money from the federal government, because I don't think it's not going to happen again, where we're going to be, as they say, flush with cash. You have to do right by it. And this is why I agree with Vice President Dion that the the $16 million that's coming from Bristol County, the whole thing ought to go to water and sewer projects.
I agree. No question about it.
The whole thing. And the governor and the lieutenant governor were just down here. And I think $9.5 million is coming down. And see, Paul had his chance to provide you, the taxpayers, with relief, and he didn't provide it. This is coming from the governor. See, the governor is providing you relief. Bristol County, the $16 million, we know where that's coming from. See, we know where the relief is coming from. It's probably going to be not long lasting, but some relief is coming. But this is what, the second budget from Paul? And nothing. Nothing. I guarantee you, if you strip down his budget all the way down to zero, you cut out the fat and allocate the money, you will see the fluff that he refuses to say is not in there. You will see the fluff. And that's the problem. Because by providing a leaner government is a stronger government for its people. Not only for today, but for future leaders of our city. Because they deserve to take this city to where they want to take Fall River and inherit it a more financially sound city. And to put today's problems on them, we're failing that mission. And when this ARPA money is gone, that's when reality is going to set foot in this city, in the city council chambers. But who knows? Paul may just be out of town.
Of course he will be. Once he's out of office, whether it be voluntary or he's voted out of office, he's going to move back to Somerset, where he came from, and that's going to be it. We won't hear anything about it, and he'll just say, hey, it's your problem. Now, one of the things that you're going to look at is, and you're talking about future generations, Durfee is a 30-year bond. I'll be dead. I'll be dead. Or I'll be a very old man, one or the other.
One of the two. One of the two.
One of the two. And I'll still be paying for it.
Yeah.
My children will be paying for it. Diamond, there's another one. That's $6 million a year that they're going to have to find in the budget.
Yeah.
That they're going to have to find in the budget because Joe Camara and Linda Pereira didn't want to do a debt exclusion, which I did not want to do a debt exclusion. I wouldn't have voted for it. And they would not give it to the voters to make a decision, which is where it should have been. We have a right to have a say in how our money is spent, and they believe we don't.
And you want to know why you have the right? The people have the right. It's because it's the law. Any capital project over $5 million has to be put on the ballot. Now that's just $6 million for Diamond. Durfee is going to be like another $6 million per year in the budget.
I believe so.
So that's going to be $12 million extra that they're going to have to find on top of the other debt obligations we have to meet, which is why we have to go back to the basics and to start preparing for what's coming down on the city really soon. It just seems that, see, look, poor planning promotes poor performance. Okay, you always have to govern with the people's best interest at heart. Because I don't care what policy initiative you undertake, you always have to ask yourself, how is this going to affect the people? How is it going to affect their pockets? What's going to happen? What are they going to pay? Can they pay? Do they have the means to pay? They don't. The poverty rate, I gave you the numbers. And I also want to put forward, now I also found something here where where is it, where are you? I know I had you, I know I got you somewhere. Okay. The National Low Income Housing Coalition, you can research every single state, the housing needs, okay? They broke it down to the extremely low income renter households in the state of Massachusetts. 27% is in the labor force, working families. 19% are the disabled Americans, fixed incomes. 38% are seniors. Another 3% work in our schools. 9% single caregivers, I would say like single parents. And then it says another 9%, which it says as other, so that could lead to other situations. But the big ones, the working class, disabled, and our seniors. That is who you are affecting by putting down this budget still. 38% are seniors, and I just read here how inflation is going to impact the seniors twice.
Right.
And they make up 38% of low-income households in the state of Massachusetts.
And remember, 38% of people vote.
They do.
Seniors vote.
They do.
They've got nothing better to do than to go out and vote, okay? So believe me, I know, they go out and vote. So if they don't remember what this administration is doing and they choose to reelect it, you get the government you deserve. It's that simple.
It is that simple. That's how it goes. But we're living in unprecedented times here, and we don't know when this is going to come down with this inflation. We don't know. Prices at the pump, prices at the grocery store. We just don't know. But the thing is, that's what we have to do. We have to give people a break. With those in power comes greater responsibility. You have to do it because they're giving you their trust. And when you fail to acknowledge their situation, they're going to question it when it comes time for voting. But to bring my point that you have to look out for those and give those a break, we all heard about shrinkflation. Mm-hmm. When you go to the supermarket, there's one drink that is still at 99 cents and it has not raised their price just a penny. Do you want to know what that drink is?
Yes, please.
The Arizona iced tea beverage. Okay, a multi-billion-dollar company. They're doing everything that they can in the background to keep prices where they need to be right now at 99 cents. He could raise it 1 cent. He could raise it just 1 cent. But he's saying, we're doing everything on the production side. He's doing everything he can. It doesn't matter if inflation is high or low. You can always count on them to keep prices at 99 cents. So if Arizona can do it, the Arizona Beverage Company can do it, Paul, you can do it too. But the fact is, you still proceeded to put down this budget. And that is, and given what we're dealing with, this is an indictment on your lack of leadership and compassion for those who cannot afford it. Because pretty soon, price is going to be for rent well over $2,000.
Oh, I believe me, I know. I've seen the rent increases. And they're already talking about groceries, that they're going to be hit again. Another 12 to 13% this year, by the end of the year. You're looking at gas rate prices increase another 15 or 20%. You may see gas at $6 a gallon here in Massachusetts this year. It's quite possible. And the worst part about it is, you know, back in the 80s when this happened, and back in the 70s when we had the gas crunch, people cut back on driving. Nobody's cutting back. They're complaining about it, but they're filling up their tanks.
Yeah.
Okay? They're taking out their RVs and they're filling up their tanks with $6.59 a gallon diesel.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
It's not.
But people want to have the vacations. They say, well, I had planned 3 vacations this year, but I'm only going to have 1.
Yeah.
You know, lucky for you, you could plan 3 vacations. The average person in Florida can't even plan 1.
Yeah.
Especially with the cost, the way they're going. And that's, you know, not acceptable. And here's one of the things I want you, the viewer, to give a thought to. The federal government gave away billions of dollars, billions, trillions of dollars, and you got a check for $1,200 and $600, $1,800. Everyone got it. You got it. I got it. Everyone got it.
Yeah.
And now look at what we're paying. So for $1,800, this is what you got to pay. And this is what's happening to the city of Fall River. Because again, we're going to pay one way or the other.
Now, CJ, I want you to tell the viewers that you received a check from your bank, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now this is the tip of the iceberg. This is before, hopefully, the city council does its job. But I want you, the property owners, to hear the story from a man who is in this predicament as property owners. I want you to hear this story, because this story is going to come. It could be the tale of this reality that Paul refuses to acknowledge. So please.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Every year, your mortgage has what's called an escrow review, and they review the account and they see how much money is short or over. Normally, it's shorted. But mine was over by $1,300. I was like, boy, I must really be paying a lot of money. So they sent me a check.
No.
Because it was overpaid.
Oh, check.
And so I called them up and I said, look, you got to check this out because my taxes are going up. And they said, well, according to your assessor, it's not. I said, check again. They checked again, and guess what? They said, we need the check back. So that shows you how much taxes have gone up, that $1,300 is needed back by my escrow account because they're expecting a shortage if they don't get it. Which means I have to pay it as a lump sum payment or pay it over a year.
And it was more than 13, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reality, you know. So when those tax bills come in the mail, it's going to be a wake-up
2 weeks.
call. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And look, like I said, we just cannot continue with this spending spree that we're on, because look, the city cannot afford Paul Coogan. Cooganomic spending spree does not work, and we need to go back to the basics and to provide a leaner government. Because look, if we don't do that, layoffs are going to come.
That's it.
Public safety, teachers, pink slips, the list goes on. Unnecessary cuts. We need to do right by the people, not only for today, but for future generations.
Well, thank you for being here, Nelson. I really appreciate you filling in for Chip. Maybe we'll have you back again sometime soon. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.